Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pre-show. If you're tuning in and this is the archive, note that you can just jump 5 minutes ahead and we'll be ready to podcast here in about 5 minutes. Use the chapter marker if you don't want to hear us a little banter before we kind of jump into the full show. Anyhow, so welcome, everybody. Welcome to the pre-show. And yeah, I'm going to pull up the stuff. So what we're going to be talking Final Fantasy. We're going to be talking a lot of New World. It's so crazy that it's almost here. And Randy, why don't you tell the story about our quest for oil? I think while I pull this up.
Oh my goodness, man! Talk about vague. I think I was the only one trying crafting.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Monkey was trying crafting out a little bit, but we needed oil to do something, craft something. I forget what it was, but literally you couldn't find it on the map. And so we went to the swamps, which, as part of the preview, was the highest level zone at the time, and it was probably some of the funnest moments of the preview for me, right? Because we're constantly trying to avoid dying. We're looking for this obscure material that's beneath the water surface, and we just happened to run across it. And as soon as we saw it, we started seeing more of it, right? So they did a really good job at hiding the oil in the swamp. It was great. Kudos to them for that. So that's the gist of the story. Not very long.
The best part of it, though, we were fighting this one enemy, and they have these guys that will have like these bombs on their back, and they explode. And I was like, I'm the low level guy here. Like Randy and Rich, they're much stronger. They're not struggling. I'm just casting from afar. And then Randy does this knockback move as he's about to explode, and it just throws him into me and blows up. It was just
how to kill your friends.
Yeah, how to kill your friends. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize we were flagged for PvP. We're not. We're just using the enemies to throw them at people. And it'll be interesting to see if that is fixed
under the guise of friendly fire.
Yeah. The illusion of friendly fire. Hey, what's going on, Tyler? Or Tiger, excuse me. The says that oil is much less rare now. I'm sure there's going to be rare materials. I think essentially, like you always want to have that stuff that people want, and then that creates a need for people going and adventuring in and fighting those gators. Gators are fierce. Have you played any of the game, Belkin? Did you play the preview, or you just?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I played the preview, and then some more of the NDA stuff, but played a lot of the preview. And yeah, oil was definitely something that I had no idea where it was.
Yeah.
It's just like you said, vague marsh. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. Where's that at?
Look at your map. Look at your map.
Find those biomes, man.
Exactly. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Somebody was like saying they data mined, and apparently there's a whole desert. Like they were like have more of the map. There's desert that's on its way, and there's so much more to the obviously this zone, the zones and stuff that we'll be seeing. So man, dude, it's gonna be interesting. It's as a science, like just as a case study, because it's in a good way. And we'll talk about this more in the show, but in a good way, it's like if they have a great launch, and everybody's just kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's Amazon. We don't know what's gonna happen. And then literally, it's like if they have a great launch, I think people will be excited. And then if they don't, then it's just they got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
You need to steal Rich's background. That's what chat's saying.
That's pretty slick.
It is.
Is that green screened and then you got that going up?
Yeah, it's just a green screen.
Look at this pro here.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Man, I don't know if you guys have ever tuned into Rich's streams, but I highly encourage you to do that, because that guy is a pro at transitions. He's got some crazy stuff going on in his stream that I have not seen any other streamers do. And I see him streaming and I want to join in, but work is just killing me right now.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to do much else other than work. And when I'm not working, I'm playing Final Fantasy XI Classic thanks to Brian. So I appreciate you drawing me back into that.
Dude, it's been a trip, man. Because
insert sarcasm.
Well, it's been a trip because it's like not going into retail, like, oh, I've got all this investment in time. I'm like, I've got more, like, it's like starting from scratch in 2021. And it's like, there's this level of appreciation that I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I see what's happening. I probably should tweet this out, and then we'll rock and roll.
Let's do it.
Mhm.
OBS. What was the question about OBS?
I think your transition.
Right now is just transitions and stuff from OBS when I stream, but the background is through. We're doing StreamYard, so I just went in and configured the green screen on that, and it's just an image from one of their New World images, I guess. It's put back there in the back, and played around with it. It's pretty. It was pretty easy on here compared to Zoom.
Yes.
Zoom.
So, Rich, have you gotten into before we get started? Have you gotten into Ashes of Creation at all?
No.
Because I know you were hyping that game up right
I
about
am.
the same time we got into preview.
I am still kind of sad about it. It's kind of sad that I'm sure they got overwhelmed with content creator people, a bunch of like creators, smaller creators, so they got the larger ones in there.
Yeah,
it's been fun watching people jump in and run around in it, so it's okay.
Yeah,
Like eventually, I guess one day.
that's right. That's the dream, right?
Just keep grinding. Just keep grinding. Oh, and congrats, by the way, Vulcan, on 53,000, right? Is that what I saw last?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing, man. Keep it going, dude.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like one of the crazy things too is like right when they opened that up, like is when the time I had all that trouble with my other channel, where it got
hacked.
Got copyright claim striked, so it was deleted for a while. Like they disabled my account for a while, so I had to open up the new channel. So it's back now, but like all that transition in between stuff just didn't help at all as far as trying to get people to see it existing. So
all right, you guys ready to podcast?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a really good time. So chat, just feel free to weigh in with questions, comments. Tiger says, "What faction will everybody be?" I think that'll be a good first question we jump into, kind of as we introduce ourselves, and just we're gonna be talking New World, and it's just gonna be fun, a little casual, nice little cast today. So, all right, let me go ahead and actually hit record like a professional. That'd be like the best podcast ever, only available on one hidden live stream. All right, let's see here. Okay. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Epic Loot Radio podcast. My name is Brian. I'm going to retake that. Oh, wait, hello. Hello, what's happening? Wait a minute. I'm the guy who's controlling this. I kept the banner up like, man, like we're going to get it. We're going to do take two, guys. Take two. All right. It's the only podcast where we get to do it as many times as I need. All right. And here we go again. Hello and welcome to the Epic Loot Radio podcast. My name is Brian. This is episode 27. And today we're going to be talking a lot of MMORPGs, namely New World is going to be the focus as we dive and get ready to dive into the closed beta, which launches on July 20th, full release on August 31st. With me today, I have a crazy awesome panel of guests. Let's start with you, Randy. We went on quests. We played the preview. Why don't you introduce yourself and we'll just go around the horn. And we'll end with Vulcan.
Yeah, you people have no idea who I am. I'm a moderator, worked a game. I've known Brian for about 11 years now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's crazy odd fact that we share the same birthday and year. So we are the exact same age.
Never met anybody with my same birthday.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, what? You're taking the day off for your birthday? It's my birthday too. Like, wait, we're the same age? This is cool. Anyway, go ahead.
I think at the time the conversation went, well, I'm your boss, so I trump you and you can't take off. I'm taking off. Something like that.
True. This is true. He's telling the true story, guys.
So no, we clicked and we've been playing games together ever since. And Brian asked me to be here and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to playing New World with you, dude. Like since we were like just going off and into the woods, into the weeds, just kind of discovering this game. And I was like, you know what? We should get him on the podcast. Maybe he's available. I know you're going on a trip coming up, so I don't know how much time you're going to get with the beta, but it doesn't matter because characters are getting wiped, so it's less stress for that. You don't need to like hit cap and then have that all taken away. Rich, dude, what's going on with you? Why don't you introduce yourself to the world?
Oh, Rich. Right now I got a channel called the MMO Ronin. I have also another channel. Most of you guys probably know me as Death Monkey XL, but MMO Ronin is where I put all my MMO material and stuff which I've been focused on mostly since 2 months ago, just mostly MMOs. It seems to be the most stuff going on in that area, and I like it the most. So you can find me at there. Right now, messing around with some 14 and some Swords of Legend Online, and I guess we're messing around also with some New World when that hops out next week. So
Absolutely, man.
that's what we're doing.
How about you, Vulcan? What's going on with you? Some new fresh-faced YouTuber over here. How's the kid doing, by the way?
Oh, she's doing good. Growing like crazy. She's in daycare, so she's sick all the time, building that immune system. It's fantastic. Love it. But yeah. So it's insane how much she's grown in. Oh man, she's 5 months now. So it's crazy. But I'm Vulcan, and I run a YouTube channel called Vulcan. Most of it is action RPGs, really kind of looter shooters, anything with loot involved. And I'm gonna be hitting New World pretty hard as well. So super excited to be here, and can't wait to talk about the game.
This guy makes excellent content. We did a show for Outriders. We've been talking, and it's just it's always, when it comes down to podcasts, it's always a scheduling thing. Like 90% of a podcast job is scheduling, and then the rest of it is like, all right, let's just crack open a can or a refreshing drink, and let's break into a podcast within a podcast. Everybody, welcome to the show. This is Boozecast. I decided to break in early. I was waiting on when I should drink it in. This is a podcast within a podcast. This might be the only time I do a Boozecast. This is a cast when we drink and we talk about video games at late at night. Since we're not recording this at 8 in the morning, which would be awkward, maybe problematic. What are you drinking tonight, Randy?
I am drinking an old fashioned. Angel's Envy is the alcohol of choice. Smooth, nice little bourbon. So I encourage you to try it out.
Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy. If you guys taking notes in the crowd here, Rich, what are you drinking tonight?
I got this limited edition Kraken. It's a black spiced rum.
Nice.
I'm very on theme for New World too. Yeah.
It's got a little cough medicine taste to it, but it's pretty good.
Hey, spice rum, you throw a little Hawaiian punch in that, it tastes like cotton candy, man. I'm telling you.
I'm about to make it happen.
I bet you, Vulcan, what you drinking tonight?
Me and Rich, man.
Oh,
there it is.
Whoa, the Kraken brothers. There it is.
Now, since you're drinking dark rum, you had the tall boy there. Is that just all rum? Or is there...
It's 50-50 rum and Coke. So
okay,
yeah.
All right. I just had to ask.
You're good.
Figured out what kind of podcast this is going to be, right?
It's gonna be
Boozecast,
late morning
baby.
tomorrow.
And I'm drinking
strength.
an Angry Orchard hard cider. This is a peach mango. Julie got a set of these, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's just Boozecast it. If you're over 21, drink responsibly, and you're with us, welcome to the Boozecast. And is there any boozy things we want to talk about before we jump into some Final Fantasy 14? Perfect. Boozecast is over. We did it, guys. Podcast within a podcast. Podcast within a podcast. We'll be drinking the rest of this show. So by the time we get into New World, I only brought two because I don't want to be a sloppy host in that regards. All right, let's go ahead and cut into some information here. This is an interesting topic. I really want to get y'all's thoughts on it because right now what we're seeing is just incredible growth, especially as it relates to Final Fantasy 14, but MMOs in general. I was hanging out like a Ninja stream today, and even like the top streamers are just like, what is going on? Because they're like, I want to be playing Final Fantasy. I want to, or some other MMO, but my love is Final Fantasy. So I'm a little bit biased, and it's just nuts because they're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to play the shooter. But man, okay, right after stream, we're going right back into the MMOs, and to see a surgence in MMOs in this case. But I'm going to read this post, and then we're just going to go down the panel here. The ramifications of Final Fantasy 14 now being more popular than ever 4 months before an expansion launch. This is posted over on Reddit, and the link will be in the show notes. I wanted you to get a little bit more focused discussion for this momentous occasion. While there are no lucky Bancho numbers, several other indicators point that Final Fantasy 14 is having a bigger active player count than ever before, even while in a pre-expansion content dip. Some may say that most of the new players are trial accounts, but the new record of players on Steam, which does not use the trial account client, and the digital store running out of copies of the game, indicating large number of these players are new subscribers. What are your thoughts about how this unprecedented and unexpected boost in player population will pan out? Square Enix does not have enough time, for example, to add more servers, data centers before the Endwalker launches. And I hear Yoshida stating that Endwalker is already over 3 times as many pre-orders as Shadowbringers has sold. Do you believe that Endwalker will have an unstable launch like Stormblood or a smooth launch like Shadowbringers? Do you think that the population boost combined with Endwalker's launch will actually result in Final Fantasy XIV pulling ahead of WoW in subscribers? And what other scenarios do you believe may come to fruition? I'm going to go to Randy here at the top. I'm going to put us like in the order. And there we go. Randy, show's yours, dude.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this are they're very adult centric, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're tired of talking about COVID, but what COVID did is it shut things down, right? And the reality is that people need people to function, right? If anything, once the world started opening up, you see more shootings or arguments. Like, people don't know how to behave around other people because they haven't been interacting. And I think that's what you see here, right? With World of Warcraft specifically, you hop in the game, you level your character, you hop into a queue and you do something. And you do that for 30 minutes and you leave. There's very little time to build community with the way World of Warcraft is today. If you played World of Warcraft 10 years ago and you helped build a community and you met a group of friends online, it's a different story for you, right? Your experience is different. But with Final Fantasy, it's always been a place for community, right? 11, 14, it's centered around that. And I think we're seeing that now as we're running out of digital copies, right? Square Enix didn't plan for the growth because they planned for growth for 14, much like 11 progressed and then regressed and then progressed. It was a constant balance to create content to get people into the game. And then Shadowbringers launched, and in my opinion, was probably the best story arc for 14 for me personally. It ranks highest on my list so far. And you have this great mix of single player content with great story. And then as a side benefit, you get to interact and meet with great people. I mean, Brian, that's how I met you. Rich, that's how I met you through Work to Game. I don't think we've played in 14 yet. Maybe we have, but I met you through that avenue, right? And so I think it just speaks to the community that 14 has built, which has been largely missing from the WoW community for quite some time. And I don't want to compare the two, but that's my experience, right? So that's my thoughts on this.
Vulcan.
Yeah, Randy, I think you hit the nail on the head. Coming from somebody who played World of Warcraft from vanilla, and I play every single expansion all the way up to current, it's become a lot more of a vicious cycle in terms of gear content, gear treadmill, and it's become stale. The writing's become stale. The content encounters have become stale. They're not taking any sort of creative liberties. And watching some other kind of big YouTubers talk about, like Bellular, for instance, he has a really good point of Blizzard is now targeting things that aren't technically problems. They believe they're problems. The community hasn't even brought up that they're an issue. So they're directing their efforts somewhere else. And people feel like their time, their effort, and their attention isn't really being rewarded or respected. So I think that's leading a lot of people to kind of go out and try some new games. And then they're discovering that, Final Fantasy 14, this is that one game that's always kind of been there that my friends wanted me to try, but I never really tried it. Now I'm going to give it a chance because World of Warcraft, my lifelong MMO, is now something I don't really want to play anymore. So now I'm checking this one out, and all of a sudden it's, whoa, Final Fantasy respects my time. I can go in, I can do something. There's that sense of community. I can ask questions without getting, completely just like bombarded with toxic comments. And I can actually have a decent time playing the game. And I think that's really what is causing a huge resurgence, right? Or I guess growth in this manner. But then you have other people like Asmon who are playing the game and trying it. And these are lifelong World of Warcraft people. And they're showing that, hey, you can play different stuff. And I think that this whole kind of cultural shift is going to help push this game even further than World of Warcraft. I do think it's going to get there if it already isn't. And I do think Endwalker is going to probably have a more stable launch, just going off of the type of back end work they've been doing, the conversations they've been having, and just the conversations I've been having with other people in the community. It just seems like Final Fantasy kind of has their ducks a little bit more in a row than Blizzard nowadays. So that's kind of my outside perspective as somebody who doesn't play it regularly, but has been keeping up with it.
What's keeping you away from playing it regularly? Just curious.
Time, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's time. Between the channel and baby and work and all that. I re-upped my subscription, logged in, played probably 8 or 9 hours a couple weeks ago, and it was fantastic. Leveled a brand new character. The only thing I will say, the one thing is their kind of new subscription portal, the MOG station, whatever you want to call it. We got to get that updated.
Yeah.
I was so frustrated because I had everything on Steam and then that wasn't working, and I was like, that's weird. So I tried to punch that key in. They're different. So it was confusing. But beyond that, I mean, everything else seamless. It was great. So that's one thing I do want to definitely. Once she starts sleeping in her crib, I'm gonna definitely get some more time in there because it's a fantastic game. 100%.
How about you, Rich? How about you, dude?
I think I kind of want to like piggyback off of what Vulcan was saying about him being able to hop on for 8 or 9 hours and, you know, have a good time with it without having to put so much time into the game. And that's a huge difference that people are bringing up between WoW and Final Fantasy 14 is that they don't have to play this particular content to be relevant in the game like you do. And wow, like a lot of people are complaining about having to do Torghast to be able to do in-game content instead of choosing to do it because maybe they just want to do something off the side. For example, I was watching like Allcraft, a little bit of Allcraft earlier, and they were talking about how, you know, Asmongold's playing a different way, and if you wanted to triple try it, you can just do that. Rich is playing a different way, and they're all still having a good time playing the game, and everybody's kind of seeing that, you know, they're seeing that they don't have to do this one type of content or play this one type of way to succeed or have fun in the game. And I think that's drawing more people in because they're just all piggybacking off of each other. So somebody will see Asmongold play and then his stream will end and it'll host Rich, and Rich is doing something totally different, but it's still like an engaging and enjoying time. So I think a lot of people are seeing that and just paying it more attention because of the fun level that's around it. And when you see a lot of people engaging and having fun, it does go back to what Randy said about the social issues and everybody wanting to be around people and having a good time like that and just kind of relax and chill because they're talking about the ERP rooms and the gold saucer jumping puzzles and all that stuff. And everybody's like, oh, so I see.
Yeah.
I can see where it can be picking up that way. As far as the servers being stable, we're still going to run into login times bigger than we are now once Endwalker launches because there's still a lot of people that's not playing it. But I remember, I don't know if you remember when Shadowbringers launched, it was like 1,000 player queues and stuff like that popped off. So we'll probably see a lot higher queues than that. But they do have the ability to put us in those channels. So they might still have channels available for us to jump into for those newer zones and stuff like that, where, you know, they only have like 300 people in a zone, and then they separate everybody off to a different channel. I still think that's a possibility instead of having to worry about too much server space. But
yeah, and on Tom, that note, I think that was probably one of the smartest things they did, going to the data center cluster, where it's not so much which server you're a part of, it's which data center you're a part of, and then being able to shard the different zones off to where you have a player cap, then a new shard generates, and then you load balance players to get more people in. It's really neat the way that they've done that for Shadow Walkers, and I hope, or Shadowbringer, and I hope it continues through. My concern is that you have so many new people coming into the game, and yes, we have a new Oceanic cluster being stood up, right, in time for Endwalker to be launched.
Well, Oceanic is coming like 6/1.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not.
6/1.
Oceanic is not with the launch. They wanted it to be, however, like delays and really the big issue is supply chain is what everybody's facing. It's not Square Enix. Everybody's on a supply chain issue with Silicon. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So That's a great point. I think it's going to be smooth, but I think it's going to be rougher than it was for Shadowbringer just because of the amount of people that want to play. No question.
You'll also have a wave of players coming back. There's a lot, especially even within the Final Fantasy 14 content creator community. Like people are like, "Oh, did you quit?" Oh, not to me, but like I've seen it on Twitter. It's like, no, I'm doing what Yoshi P says. I'm taking a break. I've completed everything that the game has to offer that I'm interested in, and it's fine to step away and take a break. And that's what we see with a lot of people. Like they've, a lot of veterans are just fine, and it's really impressive. It's one of the great things about right now is that imagine you discovering that one of the greatest like games I think of a generation that you have heard about maybe, but you've heard like, oh, I'm not going to touch that. Maybe there's a I'm a WoW guy, I'm not going to go play Final Fantasy, but then all of a sudden that barrier breaks down. You step into this whole new world, you have a good experience with it, and you're like, oh, by the way, you got like at a minimum 500 600 hours of like this incredible experience after you've been starved and starved and starved for content and good games, and also disappointing games that continue to have come out over the last year. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is incredible experience. And then it's the big streamers and everything have made it safe to come into the space and enjoy this game. And so you're seeing it in all the metrics. It's just going through the roof. So the question will be, is that is there an upper limit? Is there a breaking point? Is there a 10,000 player queue for a specific server like in our future? Y'all think that we're going to see some absurd queue times? Because let's say when we get returning players coming back, you get the new players still coming in, and they keep selling out these digital codes or something. Like imagine like adding 1 million players a month. Like I wonder how fast they hit their upper limit, because we've seen constant tweets about servers being filled up. Any guys, y'all have any thoughts on this? It's like it's a wave before the next wave.
I mean, I think so. When I logged in just on like a random Thursday, I was in a queue. So
how big of a queue? How big of a queue?
It wasn't very big. It was maybe like 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
But still, it was like it was a queue, during a expansion dip, a content drought, and I had to wait, which was insane. I texted my friends who are like pure WoW people, and they just will not play Final Fantasy 14. But and they're, oh really, okay, well yeah, maybe it's a bigger deal than we thought it was, type of deal. I was like, yeah, you guys should play it.
Have you told them about the incredible free trial now, including the critically acclaimed Heavensward?
Yeah, for their big thing was aesthetic, and I keep hearing that from a lot of people.
Yeah,
is, oh man, it's the aesthetic. I don't, it looks really cool, but I don't want to play like an Eastern game. I want to play a Western game, and that's a big gate I see for quite a few people.
Which is pretty interesting because like I can't really say that Warcraft's aesthetic is essentially tied to it being a Western game, with it being so fantasy and in its elements. So it's weird for me to see people say aesthetics. And another thing I noticed is that a lot of people that have been hesitant to try Final Fantasy 14 have played and enjoyed Final Fantasy games before. So it's just weird to me that they haven't, at least tried it out, or are so afraid to try it out, or for some reason when they'll go, I don't like the aesthetic, but they've played like 7 or they played 3 when they were on Super Nintendo or whatever. So it's like you still enjoyed those stories. So why not just at least peek in a little bit?
What Yoshi P said about when he was asked about being a Japanese developer, an Eastern developer? You know how he answered that question? He says he's not. He's a global developer. Like there's this mindset that people kind of say like, oh, this is one thing or the other. And it's like Final Fantasy is a global franchise. Like, and it's perfectly fine if somebody doesn't like the aesthetic. I didn't think I was going to like the aesthetic of New World. Like when New World first was showing off, I was like, oh, it's kind of frontier, explore, the Age of Exploration era. Like it's interesting. But then when you step into the game itself, holy freaking crap, man. It just hooks you. It just hooks me. Like I was born in East Texas. I've said the story like on a previous podcast, like running through the woods and seeing like that moon cut through the trees, and then going and being like, all right, I'm gonna cut down one of these trees. And then you actually cut down one of those trees, and it's just like, it just feels like you're just in this whole, and like for a better term, new world, so to speak. So let's talk about I think we talked about Final Fantasy. I was really curious about y'all's thoughts because it's the only thing that we can really see is it's going to be wait and see. I
Mhm.
think that if nothing else, to kind of wrap up that final thought is that at the end of the day, like I bet Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are calling like, hey man, how can we help you out? Because I'm sure that one of the things that 14 has in its back pocket that WoW can't without a massive overhaul is 14 can still come to Xbox, GeForce Now, Stadia, Luma. Like there's still many more platforms, and I think that's only going to further cement its ability to be very appealing to a lot of players. So let's dive into New World. That's what I was like, yes. The beta is on Tuesday. Let's start with Rich here. Rich, you and I have been talking about this game. We played the preview. You've been following it just like I have throughout this, this tumultuous 1 year delay. What are you looking forward to experiencing on Tuesday?
I don't even know, man. I've been thinking about it for like the past few days. Like, I don't know if I want to just focus on like doing some crafting stuff, if I want to go around and click all the lore pages, if I want to focus on leveling up and then go back and do it. There's just like a lot of options you can do, and each one of them are going to take time. It's not like something you just jump in and do real quick. You're gonna have to actually decide what part you're going to invest yourself in and spend that time in the beta, because you only have so much time in the beta to do that. So it's just what you want to test out. So I haven't really decided on which direction I want to go in on that yet, because there's so much that I can do and see, and I don't want to like do something and then burn myself out on something else. So when the game comes out, I'm like, I don't really feel like, so it's a tough one.
It's a risk.
It's a tough one.
It's a risk because you don't want to be like, from a content creation perspective, there's the temptation to be like, all right, I want to make all the guides and have all the information. And then the game comes out and you're like, man, I don't want to do that again.
Right. Because I know from the preview beta, for the preview event, that it wasn't really like just I got all the things. All right, let's do this. It was like, I finally got all these pages for this one thing. Oh my God. Oh, I finally hit level 100 and cutting down these trees. Oh,
Yeah.
So it wasn't like something that was like quick and leveling in the process. So I think it's going to be mostly just playing with you guys, really. I think is what I'm really looking forward to the most.
Mhm.
Being able to actually play with the people that I play with in beta, and some people that I haven't been able to play with in alpha or the betas before would be the most thing I'm interested in, to be honest.
What faction?
Oh, Syndicate for sure. Well, Syndicate in the full game. I might jump into something else just to see what they're like. I think Marauders. I haven't done that yet, so maybe I'll jump in Marauders for the preview for the beta. But when the full game launches, Syndicate is it. It's going to be it for sure.
How about you, Vulcan?
Man, I'm excited to see the new PvE content they added. I'm a big PvE guy. So the expeditions they added, because one of my big kind of pieces of feedback and complaints was the arena just wasn't enough. The Spriggan fight, I know they promised there's other ones, but that was all we saw. And from a PvE standpoint, I was like, that's not going to be enough to sway me and kind of keep me engaged. So adding in all those extra dungeons, adding the PvE invasions that are going to be happening, and on top of the arena, that's what I'm most excited for. But I'm a crafter too. I spent probably thousands of hours on old school RuneScape, cutting down trees, making campfires, doing all that fun stuff. So I'm really excited to get out there and actually just start taking care of business, chopping some logs, mining some rocks, and making stuff. And
How about you, Randy? Oh, go, yeah, Syndicate as well. Yeah.
Echo what Rich said. I'm not looking to get anything out of the game. I don't want to go into the game having these preconceived notions about something that's going to satisfy my inner gamer, right?
Yeah.
I think when we do that, we set ourselves up for failure. And kind of in preparation for this, because I haven't been following New World as closely as you and Rich have been, I had to go kind of catch up on some of the things that they made changes to. And one of the things that you guys hit on when you were talking about the new store page was just the idea of having fun. And I've seen some of the comments as we've been talking through these things, and it's just about enjoying a game with your friends, right? And I was sharing with you kind of pre-podcast here that you got me back into 11 Classic. And I've kind of fell in with this group of guys. We're all pretty like-minded, and that's what I look forward to. I look forward coming home, logging in. What are we going to do tonight as a group, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about gaming. It's a social thing for me. It's not a withdrawal to myself. It's not a single player experience. I enjoy those games, but I consistently look forward to that social experience. And New World may be that for me. It may not be, right? I don't know what Amazon's going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I will say there's two things that caught my eye in kind of catching up on the content. Number one is the spear,
Yeah.
much like the hand axe being my favorite weapon because you can melee or throw.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the idea of the spear, but also I noticed that they're going to limit guilds, clans, free companies, whatever, to 100 people.
Yeah.
And
it was 50 and they raised it, but it's still
yeah. So that's concerning to me because you're going to have communities that are coming into this game and they want to play together. You look at something like Death and Taxes, right? This huge mega guild that started in World of Warcraft. They're going to come to New World. There is going to be people that come to it.
Mhm.
And what you're going to have is Death and Taxes 1, Death and Taxes 2. You're going to have all these Death and Taxes guilds, if you will, because they're just going to max out that player count. And so my concern is how are you going to make that to where you can crosstalk between communities if you want to allow that to avoid segregation, right? Because we've all played MMOs. There's the A team, there's the B team. You always want to be on the A team. And so how are people going to balance that when they get into that hardcore in-game content for New World and where they're only allowing certain people into a guild because you can only have 100 people in it? That's my concern.
I think that's a really interesting point. One that it'll be neat to see when that threshold is hit. Because like when you talk about it, I didn't think about like Death and Taxes, but when you think about the work to game community, I'm like, yeah, like I think we might get 50. Like that would be epic, you know, in that regards. We got more than that in the free company, but people kind of just come and we don't really like kick people out. We're more casually focused, more that let's hang out, let's get things done, let's have fun. And that's what I'm actually kind of looking to see and to test is what we experienced in the preview with the three of us, and we'll bring Vulcan this next time. Yeah. I didn't know you back then. But you know, is that what we experienced? Is that still in the game? Because I felt that was magical. I felt like what they showed me in the preview, I was ready to play, but I was so impressed that they delayed it because more often than not, we've seen time and time and time again, these companies, they're like, we'll fix it after. We'll fix it after. We'll patch it later. And they said, you know what? We're not going to actually release it. We're going to give it we're going to give it more time. We're going to bring in more things that people are asking for. And they took that time. And so for me, I'm excited. Like you talked about the spear. We also got a great axe. We got a rapier. We got an ice gauntlet. Like it's like they've added in more weapons that for a game of potential energy. I'm like, what are they going to do next? There's rumors about a great sword that might make its way in time for launch, which completely obliterates the guide that I put out going over all the weapons, skills, and that's a lot. It was a lot of work.
It's more content. It's more content, Brian. Don't knock it.
I didn't delete the source files. So and now we're talking about the great sword.
You know, back in the back when they were showing like concept art, they had the gauntlet there. It looked a lot different, but they also had like another weapon they haven't showed that was in that concept art was a mace, like a Morningstar type flail thing or a mace. So I think that's something that we'll probably see up here soon too. I'm still under the idea that whatever weapon we see the enemy with holding in the game is that a weapon that we're going to be able to play, because essentially, or we're going to be able to use in the game. So you see the pistols. Dead pirates using 2 pistols or a pistol and a shield. I think that's something that they're going to eventually work their way into, because essentially all the enemies we see were us at one point in time. So I think we'll see that happen like that. As far as weapons go, it's not even like on the same topic. The weapons caught me off guard.
I would love to see the pistol and the shield.
Yeah.
That would be so good.
What any other weapons, Vulcan? Like, floor is yours. Imagine it. Like we can spend Amazon money all day long.
Oh man. Oh man. There yeah. So shoot. Crossbows, I mean pistols, the
I heard
mace,
people
the
saying
flail,
crossbows.
like
What I
spike
wanted,
shield. I mean, you name it. There's got to be more coming.
I think they're
So
sticking to that century. What I want to do eventually, one day soon, is go through and just see what weapons came out in the 17th century,
Mhm.
because they're trying to bridge that gap between that, like say, the time of the guns and stuff, along with sword and shield. So I wonder what all came out during that century, and if they'll just go down that path. So I think this
Yeah, it's
island is
really
similar to
really
like
a shame
Bermuda
we
Triangle.
in the 18th century we just deleted magic.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's when Hogwarts
mean-
came out. They hoarded it all.
secret,
hoarded.
the secret. Shh.
How about you, Randy? What weapons and what would you like to see? It could also be magic too, because we have magic weapons in this game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the spear, right? I talked about that one a little bit. I'm really intrigued at how the range combat is going to work with that. I remember walking around with a sword, and then Rich introduced me to the hand axe, and I was like, "This is game changing for me." But that's one of the charms of New World that I really liked. It goes back to Final Fantasy 11 for me, right? Where you have one character, and that one character can fulfill any role as long as you
Mhm.
have the job unlocked to go play that role in the party. And just being able to swap weapons on the fly and say, well, 1 second I'm a melee DPS, the second I'm pulling out my life staff, and now I'm a backup healer.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm really interested to see what's going to happen and how people are going to create combinations to clear in-game content. I play with this one guy on 11 who runs around as a paladin white mage. You wouldn't think that would work as a tank, but it does. The dude's got mana for days, and he drops a cure 4, and he grabs that threat, and you can't pull it off him. But no one would have thought to tank with a paladin white mage, or at least in my time in 11 retail. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of combinations we come up with, just because we're able to switch weapons and perform a different role. I think they had rifles in the game in the preview.
Yeah, muskets. Yeah.
That was fun. So I'm excited to see what pistols do. Is it going to be the same type of range? Is it going to be closer range? Are you going to have this really cool ability called Pistol Whip, just to crack someone over the head with it?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see, for sure.
I want to see more combinations, in the sense that when I see like Ethan and Chad saying, are we going to be able to do a shield in the hatchet? And right now, no. Like the only shield combo is the sword, but I would like to see that ability to kind of start kind of mixing and matching with a couple of the different weapons, especially when you talk about one-handers. However, that like I don't know what the restrictions would be, and honestly, at the end of the day, there's an interesting concept with them introducing new weapons, because that's a little bit of horizontal content. I don't know, at some point, like you reach a threshold, because as long as the weapons feel like they belong and they add to the game. But right now, just even at the start, we have 11 weapons, and I'm like, already, I think even on this panel, I've heard 6 or 7, and that's not even getting into the magic. And then you think about all of those having their own skills, and the fact that you can combo 2 of those. Like, there are so many potential quote unquote classes that we can all build out. And because the content isn't driven into kind of a matchmaking style system, the world is this live living world that's one of the things I think that will impress a lot of naysayers if they go and jump into the beta, or if they go and decide to get the game and put essentially up on the table $40, willing to risk it in case Amazon decides to I guess do whatever. We don't know what they'll do in the long run, but they say they'll do good things. But we've heard things before. But regardless, that people risking that money, it's like, I think that's one of the things that immediately you feel that's different about this game. It's the world that it sucks you in. So outside of weapons, and outside of the beta itself, Vulcan, you're a content creator.
Yeah.
What does this game look like for you? Like, if it sinks your teeth into, are people gonna because you say you cover action RPGs,
Mhm.
an MMO is a big undertaking. for just one person. What does your world look like if this game is a success and you're having fun with it?
So when I first started my channel, I did almost specifically indie games and games that people really hadn't heard of. That was kind of my whole angle of, well, it's really hard to take subscribers or, build an audience when you have a game like Destiny and there's already some like big dogs in the industry, right? So I've always been kind of looking for that one game. I would love to build my channel around a specific game as long as I'm having fun with it, as long
Mhm.
as, my audience enjoys it, then why not? It's all upside. Right now we're also kind of in a lull. I mean, besides New World, I have the Ascent, I have Space Punks, and that's about it. Everything else is either way on the horizon or it just isn't really interesting to me. So it's kind of a perfect opportunity, and I've been sinking a ton of time into it, specifically because I want to kind of be that one-stop shop. I actually had a guy comment today and was like, "Hey, is your channel gonna be a one-stop shop for New World?" And that's the game plan, as long as everything goes well, as long as Amazon doesn't, crater it and pull a Crucible, then I think we'll be okay. But
It's kind of a low bar that, like,
mhm,
in a good way.
mhm.
I've been saying for a long time, I really hope this game comes in with a whisper, but
Yes.
they have to deliver. But it's still like come in without like hype and people just like it's going to be the be all that ends all, and then it's
Mhm.
like it's not, and then it's like, oh, I'm disappointed, as opposed to like, oh man, people are really enjoying New World. Maybe I should go check that out. Kind of
Yeah.
aspect. Go ahead,
Yeah.
though.
And I think one of the big things too is, I mean, one guy reached out to me a couple days ago and he's like, is New World coming out soon? I haven't heard any marketing on it. I haven't heard anything about it. And, I was like, yeah, I mean, they really haven't ran commercials. They haven't been, throwing it in your face. Ashes of Creation has been doing that. They've been kind of blowing things up. Yeah, or Alpha One, and a few other games, but New World's been pretty quiet.
I would say my advertising budget for the first expansion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get that you want people to come into your game, but really like come in, deliver, let word of mouth spread, Twitch stream spread, first expansion, turn on the faucet.
Mm-hmm.
When you have all the analytics in, 3,000 bears killed and show it on the screen.
Infographics.
Yeah.
Adding 19,000 new weapons.
Right. Because the thing about an MMO versus any other single player kind of game, like Randy has kind of alluded to, that I'm not playing this game for a single player experience. It's not about where it starts. And often people come in with a hype, they leave, and then it's like, then it's this game's dying, this game's in trouble. And really, at the end of the day, it's like this game just needs to produce content. Content's going to be the real key factor. And if Amazon can deliver, which as a company, from a budgetary perspective, they can run it, AGS at a loss for a long time and never even see it. It's like, well, oh, we're losing money in this leaky corner, making games. Well,
Yeah.
all right,
Whatever.
Luckily, the U.S. government is probably funding Amazon Gaming right now.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
we're
everybody.
all paying for this some one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys saw or not, but they reversed their decision to give the DoD contracts to Azure. They reversed that decision and took it away from Microsoft and gave it to Amazon.
Oh.
$10 billion. So Amazon ain't hurting from. Well, I mean, they weren't hurting for money anyways. They could throw money at this game for days and not have to
crazy.
worry about it. I mean, knowing Amazon, they would beat their head against the wall until they got it right because they have the money to do it. I mean, let's be real. It just depends on whether or not you have the right team and the right advocates and Amazon pushing to get those dollars. Because, I mean, Amazon is investing in forests right now because lumber has a high price, right?
Yeah.
So Amazon is about making money. And as long as they can use New World to filter people into whatever else Amazon can possibly sell, they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask Vulcan if you were playing, like if you had anybody you were playing with in the. I know you can't talk alpha details, but were you playing with anybody in the alpha?
For New World?
Yeah, like was there anybody you were able to group up with in there or run around
No.
with? Because I was
No.
saying, like, one thing about that game is like it infinitely becomes better when you're playing with people. Like, you can run around by yourself and do stuff all day, but like once you get with a group of people,
Oh, dude,
no matter what you're doing, it just becomes
it gets lit. Like it
Yeah,
gets
much fun.
really interesting really quickly.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I was trying to get a couple of my friends in there, but they just weren't selected. And I was like, dang, guys. So yeah. So I was soloing it the whole time, you know, just
I
cutting
check
down
my
trees.
mail every Friday to see if I got that alpha invite, and nope. So I'm thrilled for Tuesday. But on that note, thankfully I have a lot of friends that were playing, and like they shared. We're not sharing it publicly, but they showed some stuff,
Mhm.
and my response was, "What in the world is that?
Yes.
Holy crap! What's happening?" And they're like, "The devs are just kind of messing with everybody right now." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me, man!" Like that blows my mind. That blows my mind. And I honestly, and Ethan's talking about, are they going to be keeping it alive for 5? They say they actually have a 10-year roadmap, but words mean nothing to me. Actions are going to be what sells this game.
Mhm.
So that's just like they say, yeah,
10
they
years.
say
the
10-year plan.
buzzword. 10
And
years.
yeah, 10 years is the buzzword. But that's where I want to ask this next question. Okay, so we're all familiar with the kind of models of updates, schedules, and things out there, right? So we've
Mhm.
seen that Final Fantasy typically delivers 3.5 months, big update, you know, and then some updates kind of like in between. Then outside of Final Fantasy, WoW decides that they're going to deliver maybe once a year, maybe I don't know what schedule they're on. ESO traditionally has the year expansion model. So essentially, like every year, new expansion. You can count on it. That's actually a really, I think, healthy thing. And then you have Destiny, same kind of model. They have the seasonal pass. Amazon's kind of alluded to like a battle pass and other things coming.
Mhm.
What model do we want to see for New World? Like, at what point do you say they need to deliver content at this clip, whatever that clip is in your mind, and how often should we see an expansion to this game, especially if they are going to stick true to that 10-year plan?
So for me personally, I would go for one. They already are kind of going the right direction with the buy to play model. I think box copy is the best way to go about it.
Mhm.
And then two, for me, I think depending on how big the expansions are, I think the yearly expansion is a great model every fall, and then have like small events to keep things, to avoid things being monotonous. Whether it's a little thing in the spring, little thing in the summer, you're gonna have maybe like the holiday events or something like that that can kind of keep things a little bit more lively. But yearly expansion, especially if they have a ton of stuff in the pipeline already, like the desert zone we were talking about, some of those new weapons, and I think New World is in a perfect place to easily deliver things that are going to keep people interested, like those new weapons, like the new enemies to fight, like in a new arena. They have all of the assets, they have all the things that they can easily kind of spin up and throw out there, and I think that's going to be enough for people.
Oh no, did I close it down?
Yeah, you're good.
that's
You're
fair.
still here.
You're here.
And Rich removed himself from the podcast
He's
in
like,
Tired of
protest.
this.
he's like,
10
I'm
years
out,
stuff.
done.
Once a year expansion model?
Yeah,
Who do they
he's
think
like-
Amazon is?
Should be every 3
These
months. Let's
people
go.
deserve holidays.
every 90 days.
And we just
No,
tell them to be in a model and then just get over it. Code Monkey.
They have 150% turnover. They're fine.
I think the way they push out content, at least the way we've been getting content updates, is kind of spoiling us a little bit, because like every month they're like, and we did this, and now look what we added. So I don't know if that's going to keep going like that. Like, it'd be cool to have some kind of development updates every month. I know WildStar did that. You could always expect a cool video every month about what was coming, what's happening in the game. Even though the game ended up didn't last long, that was still a cool way to interact with the community. So I hope they still do that with the monthly updates, at least on what they're planning or what they're going forward, and dev updates and stuff like that. But the way they section out their games and the way they're opening up sections and these little small patches of land and stuff like that, I think they could get away with like yearly drops of expansions and content, entering like a couple of new bosses or areas every year. Because like I said, this is a huge, well, we don't even know how big the island is, right? Like, even in like the preview event, stuff was cut off, and from my understanding, we still don't have everything now. So
Mhm,
It's still.
mhm.
So we don't know what we're going to see when the game launches. If stuff is still going to be sectioned off, or there's still more to go to. So I think they got a lot of content that we don't know about, and I feel like the stuff that they've added in that we think they did to make changes for what people were saying was something that they already had planned, and they just kind of pushed it up some because they did it so fast. Like it had
Yeah.
to already have been
It
sitting
takes
there.
more than a year to do what they did.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
like,
so
oh,
that was part of the roadmap. And so, which is great because you want to launch a game and then you want to follow it up with more stuff, right? You know, so yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
right. So I think there's a lot of stuff they got just sitting there, and they might drop it off to us like, and we did this because you asked for it.
Yeah.
But we know.
Look,
already
we
have it sitting
listen as opposed to some of these other, you know, MMOs
Right.
out there, not naming names.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Yoshi P. We're not talking about you.
Rest
How
in
about you,
peace,
Randy?
Lost
What do you want, man?
I just want to have fun, dude. That's it. I mean, I'm playing a 20-year-old game. I don't care about new content. I care about content that engages. I care about social environments because that's what an MMO should be.
Yeah.
You know, as I've gotten older, I appreciate being able to sit down, have a drink, play a game with friends, and call it a day. Right? I don't appreciate the competitive, toxic natures that some of the other MMOs out there have.
Yeah.
So, like Vulcan, I'm more of a PvE content player. I will go do PvP if that's what the group wants to do and if it's available. But I tend to stick more towards my PvE style now. I was gaming, would give my age away. Back in '99, I was a competitive Counter-Strike player. Right, I was competing in esports before esports was a thing. So it's something that is very near and dear to my heart, but it's something I don't ever want to experience again. It's like that, right? It's lonely at the top. It is.
If we weren't on YouTube right now, I'd be like, I want to play the "Just Want to Have Fun" song.
Yeah, exactly.
Just want to have fun.
You just need to find a
I just
cover
wanna
that won't get you
have
strikes.
fun.
Yes.
Exactly.
They'll claim you for that. Too late.
Oh, probably. Oh, yeah.
They'll still
man.
strike you for that. Yeah.
The podcast's the lost leader. I want to say thanks to Luke for totally like funding the podcast and our hosting fees and everything like that for the next year. So, yeah, I just really appreciate y'all's support in that regards. And if you, want to be like Luke, you can always just hit that thumbs up button. So, like, I love running podcasts, and I've always been prepared to fund them all myself, which I have been. And Luke made it a little bit easier, so we got a little bit of upgrades. I should probably open the show with this, but you can actually now subscribe to the podcast, both Epic Loot Radio and Crystal Core Radio separately. And if you were listening in any podcast, we're like everywhere now. Like I migrated to Podbean. Podcast is up everywhere you can listen to a podcast. Yes, probably even on your Samsung fridge. So as long as it runs apps, you're good to go. Now I want to talk about what Bring Back Fluffy Dogs. Fluffy Dog says,
Fluffy dogs.
Fluffy Dogs. I love his name, dude. And thanks so much for the support, Fluff. Says, yeah, the end game content has to be there. One of the things that I think defines my experience with Final Fantasy XI, one of the things I really enjoyed, Randy is just crushing me. We work together. I report to him still to this day. And at the end of the day, like I'm just like working on all these projects, which has been great because me and my family are just like, all right, we got to make up for what happened last year. Like, let's see if we can claw our way back. Brian, can you work more hours? And yes, I can. So I haven't had a lot of chance to play, but I feel like the what defines 11, which is something I only felt now in 2021 playing on a classic server, is that the end game is actually at level 1. It's not at this race to level 75 and if New World can capture that the end game actually, it doesn't matter your level is just a metric in which that allows you to have and take on more challenges, but the core game is existing throughout. Your end game starts once you step into the game. Man, that's going to be solid, dude. That's going to be what I'm looking forward to judge. And that's what I felt when we were playing the preview. And as long as they didn't lose that magic, I honestly, I don't think New World is going to come in and light the fire under, and set the world on fire like Final Fantasy 14 has right now. But it doesn't need to. It just needs to come. It just needs to work. It just needs to be fun. And then they can build from that. And then in a couple years, they're going to be this like look at our game, man. It looks insane. Like, especially when you compare it to World of Warcraft and things like that. Like, that's one of the things that I've seen for people who've been saying Final Fantasy is not my game. And then it's like, I'm waiting to see what New World does. I'm waiting to see if that's the thing I shift myself into. What do you guys think about that? Is WoW in trouble?
I think so. I mean, from a player satisfaction and resubscription rate, I think so. Will it die? No, obviously not. There's gonna be people that play it, until the servers shut off. But I do think that its death grip on the genre has gotten fairly loose. I mean, you look at the level of quality between, Lich King, I'll even say Cataclysm, Mists, compared to what they have now. And people are referring to Cataclysm like as the glory days, and that was a terrible expansion, to be honest. And so yeah, I mean, I think it's just been on a downhill slide. And like I mentioned earlier, they just aren't doing anything creative. Now you get to the point where, hey, you just spent all of this time and energy and effort crafting your legendaries, and this new update came out. Oh, well, you're gonna have to go back and recraft all those again. Sorry about all the time and energy and effort you put in there for Torghast and all that. That goes back to the whole not respecting players' time. And in today's culture, in today's society, people are busy, people are fast. They want to be able to get the most bang for their buck when it comes to, minutes of gameplay, especially, as you get older and you start having a family and you don't have as much time to sit around. I'm not 16, it's not the summer, and I'm working a part-time job and playing WoW. Like, it's just, I need to have something where I can pop in, play, and make significant progress and have a good time.
I'm going to be interested to see how they integrate with Twitch. I honestly am. Like, I think when it comes down to it, that's also a thing that they haven't talked about. But they've said enough to say that it's coming. That's the directive. Integrate with Twitch. Why not? It makes sense.
Yeah.
Whether that's
not to do that.
What's up?
I was saying it would make no sense not to do that. To integrate with Twitch.
Yeah.
I don't. With WoW, it's just like it seems like they're on the mentality for Warcraft is keep people subbed, right? Like however many times you get somebody logged into the game, do what you gotta do to make sure they feel like they cannot unsub from this game and they have to keep playing. Instead of saying whatever you can do to make sure the player is having fun. And that's in the end is what's really hurting them now, actually, is the raid designs. People are enjoying like the raid designs and the dungeon designs when they come out, but like the systems around getting to that point are designed to make sure that you do not do anything else for your life except go home from whatever you're doing, log on a while, do this so you can get there eventually, hopefully sometime soon, grind it out, and then jump into the end game content and then wait for another 6 months. So I'm not sure what their plan is there. It's just weird on that aspect. I don't know how it's going to recover from it. I think they would have to actually do something they should have did a long time ago. They'll probably have to burn everything to the ground and come back that way.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a reason everybody went back and they're playing Classic and they're playing the new Burning Crusade expansion for Classic, right? Everybody enjoys it. It was once again went back to that. There's stuff to work on and meaningful stuff to work on that's not going to get just wiped out like that.
All right. I know Brian jumped into Warcraft for a little bit, and I think
very little.
For a little bit, and his biggest problem is that he didn't have anybody to do anything with.
It's not that I didn't have like anybody to do anything with, but just as of the last year, my game time schedule is really weird. Not a lot of people in this time zone, or at least in the United States, are playing video games at 5 a.m. like I had been, because that's when I can play games before the kids get up, before I go to work, and then etc. Like by the time the end of the day is like, I'll just put on a YouTube video. So it's like I'm gonna game, and I love gaming. Like one of the things that I think somebody asked me, Chris, who was on Invictus, who was on the podcast last week, like we were talking privately. He's like, how do you do it? Like, how do you do it? Like, I don't understand. And it's like, well, the secret is I get up at the ass crack of dawn, and then and it's because I love games. I mean, I love my family more, and so like in my mind, it's that I'm going to play when they're asleep, or I'm not going to play because I'd rather spend time with them. And now that as they're getting older, we're starting to play games together, which is the dream.
Yes.
Yeah, like how did you level up so much in New World? How did you make so much money? Well, you start 10 years ago, and you start having kids, and then have a big game come out, and then have them play that for you, because they have time while you work to provide for them. So I don't think that's a violation of terms.
All right, honey, just press this button on the tree.
This guy just keeping those trees. Yeah.
Every tree you see.
You want jelly beans? I got jelly beans. I need logs.
I taught my kid how to fish in Final Fantasy 11 so she could keep skilling up while I was working. So
Yeah,
I get it.
that's how we
You're
roll.
10 years old and you want to do something, do this. Just press this button.
Do this thing. Yes.
Yeah.
This is great. That's right. That's been the ultimate game plan this whole time. Now it's been revealed to you. But yeah, so I get up early and I play games. And so with WoW, I was sitting around and I didn't have a nostalgia for the game. I was a Final Fantasy 11 player, and then I went into 14. And I touched WoW here and there, and there was things that I liked that I appreciated that WoW originally did that I was like, man, this is really nice. But you look at it, obviously it's really nice because it was the number one MMO in the world. I argue that it is not anymore. So when I touched WoW, when this time I got in, Shadowlands, I was running around. I was completely by myself the entire time. And that's not to say that if I called a friend that they would enjoy. I know people that are hanging out in chat with us right now would have come and joined. If I was, especially definitely more so if I was playing during a reasonable time slot when normal people are awake. But beyond that, it was that I also didn't see another living character in the world. I go into Classic 11 and that's all you see, people running around. When I'm playing New World, that's what you see. They're not all off in these instanced areas protected from the world to have their solo experience. And you can have, and I'm not saying that MMOs have to go to this, like you can't play this game by yourself, but it's that sometimes I want to play by myself, but I want to not feel alone. And that has a huge impact on people seeing other players in the game. That's the real selling point of what the MMO is, a living, breathing world. And so one of the things I've done in Final Fantasy 14, because I was feeling that same way, I was like, I feel the same way in 14, slightly alone, like when I'm not seeing other players. But I was just idling at the house. Occasionally I might see somebody run around in a neighborhood. I've stopped doing that. I just hang out in Gridania. And you just see all the players and we're just chatting and we're just having the best time. The best time. And that's when it clicked. I was like, the problem is me. The problem is me.
Not in WoW. The problem is WoW.
Could I have found people to play WoW with? Yes.
If you go to the
but I had no nostalgia to drive that fact. 14, I do. 14, I love. 14, I adore. And so, yeah, like I made a change with that one change in 14 and boom, switch flipped. And I realized, I was like, this is why I was like feeling like, okay, why do I feel alone at 14? It's because I'm just standing there in this thing, putting myself up for queue. I can go queue anywhere in the world. Let me go queue where there's people. So we're all talking, chatting, waving, seeing friends. So I think there's some improvement the MMOs can do. And then that's what excites me about New World. And hopefully they can hold on to that, because even though you're running, I saw chat talking about like, yeah, you run for 30 minutes and then you get killed by a vampire. Yeah, that happens, but on that run, I see lots of players. I see other people. Some people are flagged for PvP. Some people aren't. And it's just like, it's exciting. It's the difference maker in what makes an MMO different from any other game out there. And I submit that I hope that we're going to be on a golden age of MMOs. Guys, let's talk about golden age of MMOs. Let's just kind of wrap up any final thoughts you guys have. I like to try to keep these shows in about an hour. Go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say, it's crazy about the idea of seeing the living world and stuff like that. As in New World, I was running, doing stuff, doing the quest, I guess. And I ran past somebody who was dead in the water because I think they were gathering, and
you can't swim. You just drown.
Just drown if your head's under the water too long. And I picked them up, and there's voice chat in New World, so they were like, "Thanks," and I was like, "Yeah, keep your head out of the water."
Yeah. Yes.
So it's just kind of it's one of those moments where even if you're not if you don't actually group up with somebody or play with them, you can still interact with them and have a good time. 'Cause I was running around solo, but I was still able to, help somebody out and have a small banter back and forth with them without actually, spending too much time. And it added to that experience of being in a world that was, surrounded by people and living and moving on and stuff like that. Like I might run into them again later one day, who knows? But that moment was pretty memorable. So for me,
Yeah, that's one of my favorite subtle parts of New World is the proximity chat. That takes me back to like the old like Halo 2 days when you're playing against people and yeah, usually it wasn't so great. But still it was so much fun. I remember the first time, I heard like somebody like screaming and I was like, what is that? And it was great. It was great. I pushed and I talked to him and it was awesome. So it was one of those things that was surprising. It was really cool and I'm glad they added it.
I know that there's going to be someone that goes through a high level zone and aggroes a ton of mobs and yells Leroy Jenkins on the public chat. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and I hope I'm there for it.
Pulls
Just
them into a settlement.
it's going to happen. Yeah, I talked about this early on, and again, social aspect. I'm a very social gamer. I enjoy hanging out and meeting new people. And meeting them where they are, right? And so our first experience in this, when we were running around the swamps, we were level 12 and everything around us was level 19, 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I was watching kind of how they were going through progressing the content and how they were going to punish or reward for levels above or below you for killing or dying, etc. One of the things I noticed is I think it's if they're 6 levels or higher than you, they have a chance to just insta kill you. That may kill some of the charm for some of those people who want to group up and push the limits and go into those higher zones as a group to see what they can do. Because not only did we have fun trying to hunt down oil to craft with, but there were those rift-like events high up in the mountain in like the 22 zone, I think, just right on the edge of that. And man, we spent probably 2 hours just up there trying to complete those things as level 12, 13, 14. And we were doing it. It was challenging. We'd have to come back and go back in. But that, like you said, there's a challenge. And that's the charm that 11 has for me is you can be walking around as a level 8 through a zone and a level 1 rabbit will come up. It'll still kill you if you're not careful. Right? So the end game starts at level 1. And that's what I felt with New World, right? It's easy to progress to a degree, but it's also very easy to get overwhelmed and not feel like you're, a superhero, if you will. And that's really what killed it for me for World of Warcraft. Before Shadowlands, where they did the level squish, I really felt like nothing could kill me unless I went into a zone where things were like 15 levels higher than me that I feel like I could die. Now, granted, I was running around on a blood-based death knight. There's that aspect of it, but it wasn't challenging. I had a lot of the same issues Brian had with it. So all that to say, part of the golden age needs to get back to bringing people together and having fun and just enjoying the game, not caring about content cycle releases, not caring about what new feature is going to get added to the game. Those are all bonuses, in my opinion. The real joy is just having fun with your friends. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna cut to a comment here by Richard, or a question. It says that will New World have controller support? And I put out a controller guide for New World during the preview because you can play the game with a controller. Now that does not appear to be native, but in talking with AGS, they say that is a part of their plan. That is on their roadmap to have that native controller support, which will end up being a help because essentially part of the guide is saying this button is actually equal to this skill slot. So like you have to kind of do some little translation at launch. So we'll see if that, I don't know if that's going to get Ninja into the game in August. We still have well over a month away. But at this point in time, from a game development, like what are they focusing in on? Bug fixing and polishing, stability, and then content, all those things as a part of their backlog are, all shuffled into update 1 or 2 or however they decide to want to label them. But yes, I actually played New World exclusively on the controller in the preview, and I thought it really played well. The only thing I was unable to do was interact with the menus. And being that I'm playing on PC, the game currently is only on PC. I already had access to a keyboard and mouse. So it was only just a minor inconvenience, and nothing that I would say I just pick it up, play the game controller, need to do inventory and things like that, go to keyboard and mouse. I hope that we see full controller support within the game at some point, namely because that then opens them up to have more platform support.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's podcast and wish everybody a good evening?
Yeah. Make sure you guys all get together when this thing launches up. Also, if you guys haven't yet already, when it comes out, make sure you put your FOV all the way up. It'll definitely change the entire experience for you. So when you go in, have your normal viewpoint, change that, put it all the way up. I promise you'll mine just.
No real final things for me. I think, it's going to be a really fun time. I'm glad that a lot of people are going to finally get to experience it. There's people like myself, right? I pre-ordered the game back in 2016 when it was $0 or something.
Wow. So you got the $0 pre-order.
Yeah, you got it free still because
Yeah.
they're keeping those.
Yeah. So I had to go find it. I had to dig through my digital orders, but I found it. But so it's been really cool to kind of watch the whole process. I go from a survival kind of sandbox to what it is today. But I'm really excited that people are going to finally get to see it, and we're going to finally get to have that kind of NDA-less full experience. So I'm just really excited to see what everybody thinks about it on Twitter and comments and things like that.
Randy, you got any final thoughts?
No.
Man,
it's 9 p.m. man. My brain is off for the day.
And his final thought is you don't need final thoughts when you have family.
That's right. Insert Dom Toretto.
Family, let's go to the movies. I'm a Vulcan. Where can people find you, dude?
You can find me at YouTube. Just type in Vulcan, and I'm the orange logo, the Vulknut.
Rich, dude, where can people find you?
I'm gonna push everybody to the MMO Ronin. It's just the MMO Ronin, all spaced out. The space MMO space Ronin. You can find me there, just putting out some MMO content, and on Twitter at DeathMonkeyXL. And that's pretty much it. If you want to find me on Twitch, it's DeathMonkeyXL also. I won't change those names, but yeah, I'll be around. I'm all over the place.
He's pulling the Brian. We're just going to do multiple channels. We're going to really confuse people.
He's fighting that algorithm, man. That's what's happening. He just doesn't want to admit it.
What you do, Randy? I know you create content every now and then. Do you want to plug anything?
You could find me at Work to Game Discord.
Yeah,
I'm in there. Same name, Randy. Just look me up.
I wanted to can I ask real quick too? Somebody in chat mentioned Valheim. And I just wanted to push
love
them.
that game.
They actually play Valheim, and I wanted to push them to that work to game Discord because you have that server up for Valheim.
Yeah, we got a private server up. I haven't logged in and played in a couple of months, but I want to get back into it. It's such a good game, and at the end of the day, the only thing that I struggle with is available time.
It's hard to believe that it's still in early access.
I know, and it's so good, and I can't wait to see. We should try to find a night where it's just and now we're Vikings.
Valheim night.
Valheim night. Yeah, if you're interested, guys, we got a private server for Valheim, and then Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. I've just hit level 15, I believe. I've been really enjoying that experience. It's kind of nice because it's just gonna be one of those experiences that builds and builds and builds. It's a great time for me as a gamer, and then it's just a crazy time for me as an adult. All right, so me and Randy's birthday is coming up. And we're gonna be I'm gonna be taking some time off and be playing some games. I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to that, guys. All right, that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in live with us. The show here on Ginger Prime will actually become unlisted once this is over, if you guys are interested, you're watching, or catching up, you want to watch the full show again, it's going to be over on Ginger Gaming Radio, and pretty soon the MP3 will be up on Epic Loot Radio, which you can find all in the links in these videos. So guys, thanks for checking that out. So we're gonna wrap up. Thanks guys and everybody, I don't know, I'm stuttering, for watching. You are awesome, you are amazing. We will see you next time, but until then, take care. Dun 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 dun. We did it. Dun dun dun.
So Vulcan, you said you play anything with loot.
Yeah.
Division or Division 2?
Yes.
You play either of those?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Division 2, Destiny, Defiance back in the day. Yeah. If it's a looter
Defiance.
shooter,
Holy crap. I don't think I came across anyone that didn't play that except for at release, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh.
No. Yeah. If it's an RPG that's actiony, if it has loot, I'm in.
Okay.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah.
Okay. I tried to get Brian in Division 2. We played a little bit.
We capped.
and then
We got to cap.
He just
We got to
kind of
cap,
petered
yeah.
off. I don't know what family life, I guess.
Family.
It's
The movies.
I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with the next content drop.
Yes.
They're teasing either that or Division 3. I really hope it's more Division 2.
Yeah.
I really like the engine inside Division 2. I wish they would bring dang it, what was the snow survivor thing from Division 1? Survival. There it is. Plain and simple.
You did it.
So I wish they would bring that to Division 2.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the whole skyscraper thing, but it's for me it was kind of like Torghast.
Yeah.
All right, it mirrored itself to Palace of the Dead with 414, which I really enjoy.
Mhm.
But yeah, Torghast just turned into some other type of monster altogether. Yeah. But no, we should sync up and exchange Ubisoft names if
Yeah.
you play Division 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
I
I'm always looking for someone to play Division 2 with. It's one of those games that will always have a piece of my heart, and I love going back to it.
I've
It's-
enjoyed every time Randy and I've played. Randy is such a good player in Division 2.
I
Now
got it.
Go ahead. You got it too,
Oh.
Rich?
I got Division 2, but like I have such like PTSD with Division 1 that when I play Division 2, I can't really stay with it long.
I
So
get that.
I was playing Division 1. There was this like one long mission in like a building. Like you had to go upstairs and it was like fighting the rogue agents or whatever. And then I get out of the building. It was like 30 minutes, 35 minutes long. And I roll into a barricade and I fall under the map. And I had to start like all over, and I was just done with the game from that point in time. So every time I go into Division, I'm like,
Yeah. It's a little bit better now, Rich. It's a little bit better. And it's usually on sale. So
Yeah. I got
if
it
you
for
want to
$2.
pick it up and give it a try, yeah,
It's
$2 will get
crossplay.
you the ultimate edition with Warlords. I mean, it's a heck of a game.
And they
The,
have Division Heartland
I'm
coming
curious
out,
to
too.
what's up Vulcan?
I was gonna say they had Division Heartland coming out too, which is
That's a single player game, right?
no, it's multiplayer.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of has that survival mode to it, Randy, but then it also has like expeditions and things like that. It takes place in the Midwest, so right in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, I've been reading a little bit about that. Like I said, I've just been killed by work lately. I haven't had a chance to catch up on a lot of gaming news. But no, I caught wind of that and I've been kind of watching it a little bit. And I know I think they just recently took beta apps.
Mhm.
I think I signed up for that. I clicked the link. Hopefully I did it right. But no, I am looking forward to that. I'm an avid Tom Clancy reader. So yeah, I've enjoyed most of his games. Splinter Cell Blacklist was probably my favorite to date. That was a good one.
It's been so
The,
long.
Man, I don't think anybody has.
Really? You haven't heard of this?
Splinter
What's that?
Splinter? Oh,
It's not. Yeah, it's like right now we're Ubisoft is like maybe we'll do something with this. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Maybe.
I hope they do because
I got all
the
the
last
Splinter
one was
Cell games.
fantastic.
Splinter Cell is like my favorite game. It's so good.
The
Yeah, I remember the first one was on PS1 or two, right?
I played it on Xbox, the original
Yeah.
Xbox. So
Oh, it was. You're right. It was
Mhm.
Xbox Black. That's right.
yeah,
Yeah, because you could use
Right.
it to soft mod Halo 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm curious to see what Destiny ends up doing because they're getting their crossplay
Mhm.
fully integrated with the next season. But then Halo Infinity announces that their battle pass isn't going to expire. You can buy it and you can grind on it, and then you can unequip it, equip it, etc. And I was like, if Destiny did that, I think that would be something that would invite me back. Every time there's that hard date of you got to get this done by this date, even if it's like, oh, that's a year away. Like, I don't know, like I'll procrastinate and then I'll look at it and go, I don't need that stress.
Yeah. No,
And
I totally get it.
so with Halo, I'm like when they announced that, I was like, oh heck yes. And then I'm like, I need all battle passes to do that because I think it ended up spending more money
Mhm.
on battle passes, and that's where I was like, New World needs to be paying attention to what they're doing because they talked about adding a battle pass in for New World. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great if it doesn't expire. It's just a quest chain, or you want me to grind out 100 levels on this battle pass? Sure thing, I'll do it on my own time. And the fact that I don't feel like I have to get it complete by the 90 days from now, great. It just is going to be
that makes
nice.
sense. It eliminates the FOMO too, that people
Yeah.
feel like they have to jump in and do that stuff. Are you guys interested in Lost Ark at all? I know Brian has said
I played in Korea,
yeah,
and it was really good, except for I didn't speak Korean, and I had the English patch, so I was able to get through and play. But then at the same time, I was like, I just right now playing by myself because everybody else here is Korean, and who's this
Yeah.
American guy coming in? And so yeah, Lost Ark, I'm excited that it's coming out, but the question that I ask myself is it too late, and are they going to keep developing the game? It's been out, in Korea for years. Like we were talking about Lost Ark in 2018, 2017. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, there's other really good games. How about you, Rich? You checking out Lost Ark?
Oh yeah. I played a little bit of the Russian one with the translation patch on it. I really enjoyed a lot of the animations and systems, the gunner and stuff like that. And like how when you teleport, you pull out the guitar and just well enough for a little bit. That was like my favorite part of the whole game. So I'm looking forward to. I didn't play that much of it because I knew it was eventually coming out over here. So I'm looking forward to that just to get more into it. But I think it's gonna be. I don't know about it lasting. Like I think it'll be pretty good because there's not like a lot of ARPGs. We're still waiting on Diablo 4, and we don't know when that's going to come out. So with there not being too many ARPGs out there in the scene, Magic Legends has failed hardcore. I think people will gravitate more toward that with it being a good game too.
Have you played Last Epoch?
Oh, such a good game.
Have you played Last Epoch? Oh, dude, it's good. It works with a controller.
Dude,
I should probably put out a video on it. I've been just playing it, and it's in early access.
I just made a video on it, so it has everything you need to know.
No, I haven't played Last Epoch.
Guys, check out Vulcan's channel. Do it.
Yeah, there you go. But
traveling.
yeah, it's so good. So your skills are like miniature Path of Exile trees. You can go through and specialize them. It just has such a deep character progression system.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and the developers behind it are awesome. Just great people, and they're super, super, super transparent and communicative, which is great.
Yeah, one of my favorite ARPGs was a sleeper to me was Titan Quest. I don't think anybody gave that a lot of any.
So good.
It's so good.
Did you play the new expansion?
I did. I got it, but I haven't played it yet. I haven't jumped into it yet.
So good. I know. I'm waiting for Grim Dawn 2. They said they're working on it, as well as an Xbox port. So we'll see. But then they wrapped up. They're not making anything more for Grim Dawn 1 because they're making that new IP. So sad times there. But Brian, when you were talking earlier about getting directly into like in the game, that reminded me of a patch, or I guess the next update for Neverwinter Online. They're changing their leveling process, and they're switching to a milestone system, which is interesting. You start at 1. They squished from level 80 as the cap to level 20, and now as you go through a quest chain, an arc, whatever, you don't get any levels, and then at the end of the arc, it just goes, okay, you're now level 8, and then at the end of the next arc, okay, you're now level 14. Okay, now you're level 18. And so you don't gain experience or level up traditionally. It just puts you at a level when you're done with that arc. They're trying to match it up to Dungeons and Dragons, like actual like tabletop, and I guess how that works. But
Yeah,
thought it-
keeping levels and stats and all that. Like, okay, this is what
Mhm.
this means.
yeah, but I thought it was an interesting kind of take on MMO of you're not actually like grinding experience. It's just, oh, I finished this quest chain. Okay, now I'm automatically whatever level.
I
it
don't
is.
mind grinding experience. The problem for me is that when experience has no value, and it's not that it can have a diminishing value. It goes to no value, and that's just something where it's like, hey, I did this thing, and zero experience. Like, oh,
I know.
okay, like it's just like, and it doesn't have to mean everything. It just I like that concept. One of the
Mhm.
things that makes me so excited about Endwalker is I'm going to have a whole new set of jobs to level up, and that's just
Mhm.
like, all right, I'm going to level up all these things now. I really, for whatever reason, enjoy that. It's just something that I feel like I can do, especially as a dad, where it's
Mhm.
like I can just kind of chip away. And it's like, yeah, y'all got there already. Y'all are already at endgame. That's great. I'm just gonna
Simple
keep
things.
going. Oh, y'all are burned out because you rushed all the way to endgame, and all right, that's fine. I'm just over here. And then at some point, it's like, how'd you level up everything, Brian? Just kind of that tortoise and hare moment, Just
Sure
enjoyed
is.
myself. Just enjoyed the experience. Didn't set some kind of deadline. That's the thing I think that's going to be interesting to see when August 31st runs around. How fast
Mhm.
can because there'll be the races no matter what. How fast can you get
Right.
to 31? How fast can you or
Mhm.
60, in this case. I hope they don't ever raise the level cap. I know we didn't talk about it in the show, but I hope they never raise the level cap. Just keep it at 60, add new weapons, add other ways to grind and to progress, but go horizontal as much as possible, because as soon as that becomes the loop, it's just going to be like, okay, well, why
Power creep.
yeah, why continue to go grind when it's just going to get easy? And once that mindset sets in, you see a lot of people just slowly it's good because it helps new players come in. When you talk about level squish, when WoW did that, like I was like, there's two thoughts. If they did that in Final Fantasy 14, I'd feel horrible. I'd feel like something was taken from me. As a player who went into WoW, I felt like it felt less pressure because it's like, oh, in a way, it's like 60. That's not horrible. So
Mhm.
hopefully Amazon, hopefully like these game studios be like, go horizontal, and there's a lot of horizontal progression in New World already, but don't sit here and say, hey, new expansion 70, new expansion 80,
Yeah.
oh no, God, we got to 200. It's a new player coming in. It's like, no, like let's keep it to where it's something that's attainable. And then you have all these things that you can do. And then you could have separate progression systems in those contents so that it's not necessarily just always like you go and you break the game elsewhere, right?
Mhm.
We'll have to see.
Well, I think Rich was talking about that earlier when he mentioned we have an unrealistic expectation on new content release
Mhm.
because you have those people who jump into the game and all they want to do is hit the cap. They want to rush content. They don't want to sit and take the time to enjoy the game or the experience. And so they're always felt left. They always feel like they want more. And when they don't get that, they leave. And they
Yeah.
may come back, they may not, but we're just instant gratification. That's what we want as a society, and because we want instant gratification, look at what's happened to the quality and the content of the games that have released in the last year, right? And I'm going to plug a very big one here, Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? I love that studio. I love the Witcher series. There hasn't been a game or something they've put out that I haven't enjoyed. And it's not that I didn't enjoy Cyberpunk, but it felt like I paid $60 twice because I bought it on two platforms uh, for a beta, really,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
it wasn't described as that. It was described as a finished game. And because we want things now, because we don't want to wait, because we want to talk about going into society and cancel culture, right? where they want to push a game, so I want to cancel my pre-order because they're not giving me what I want. We lose sight and we lose quality, and we suffer as because of it, and we don't even realize that we're causing our own suffering. So it's
we're good at that, causing our own discomfort. And
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, one final thing before we wrap up, and this really fun little random post show. Angel says that they rushed in 14, but they like that they can actually go back to the things that they skipped. And that's one of the things that, even though New Game Plus does not reward experience, just the fact that that's a tool that if somebody's saying like story is not for me, Final Fantasy 14 says fine, just press escape or B on the controller, and off you go. And then at some point when you're like, man, this game's great, why are we fighting this boss? By the way, we have tools, like you can go find out why if you want to, right? And you don't have to rely on, like creating a new character. And honestly, New Game Plus is a real genius idea, especially with a story-driven narrative that is Final Fantasy 14. So, and Stadia, like the Stadia version of Cyberpunk, though, ran really well.
Yes,
like,
it did.
That was the premiere. That's where I was like, that's where I played it. I had a good time. I want more for the game, but it's like, it sounds like they're working on the real, like what people really want to see as a part of some expansion or something like that. So who knows?
Yeah, but when you spend money on a 3090, so you can get HDMI 2.1 and run 4K to 120 hertz, that's where you want to play Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And when you can't, it's like, okay, yeah. I'll come back to this in 6 months and maybe it'll be fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's Stadia is a good platform. I know they canceled a lot of their game creation content, but I hope they stick around long enough to have other people develop and bring games to that platform because it's highly accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and the more games that come to Stadia, the more games are going to run on Linux. So any Linux people out there say, like, one of the things that they announced the Steam Deck today, running a SteamOS. Apparently, you can install Windows on it. But I go, if you can run a Chromium browser, you got xCloud on that, you got Stadia on that right away. Like, it's a day one purchase. And then I go, gosh darn it, I wish Final Fantasy 14 was on Stadia. I like that would be so nice, because then it's like, great, I can, because Switch can actually run Stadia if you hack it. Xbox could run Stadia. Like there's like somebody was saying like, Xbox has clawed back the Bethesda, like no Bethesda, no Fallout or whatever on PlayStation going forward. It's like all PlayStation has to do is just let it run in the browser.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all they got to do if that's what they want, and you can literally play Fallout on your PlayStation, not a problem. But that's going to be a Sony call, based off all the stuff that we keep hearing from Sony. I don't have high hopes, at least not for now. So
I'm curious how that kind of a whole dynamic is going to work with the whole Netflix for games that got announced.
Oh yeah, I tell you, if anything else, that if I was Google, that makes me like want to double, triple down.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's what it is. Like is Netflix making their own games, or are they literally just going to be like stream your game?
There's another player that unfortunately kind of disappeared from that talking point that you guys talked about when you talk about Stadia and GeForce Now and Xbox Cloud, and that's Luna.
Yeah. I've tested out the Luna. I have nothing wrong with it, but if you're asking me to rate the platforms, Stadia is by far the fastest, but it's starved for games. I would play Stadia every day if it had the games that I wanted to play. It's so convenient. It is so convenient that it just is mind-blowing. xCloud just got upgraded with the X Series X backbone, because now it's much faster. But interface-wise, they got the games. Interface does not hold a candle yet, and the speed and everything like that to how Stadia performs. Then it drops down to GeForce Now. Limited games, but it works great. But it's I usually always have to tweak or change settings because how it works. And then Luma was fine, but it's still early access. I just felt that it took a long time to get into the game itself. But the fact is like 100% the thing that I look forward to right now. Maybe when I'm older and the kids don't need me as much, like to tie their shoes and change the diapers and stuff, I'll be fine with waiting a little bit more. But right now it's like whatever can get me into what I can play, even if it's for 5 minutes. I don't have time to sit through updates. I'm just like, I just like, I'm gonna play some Horizon, and then it was like, oh, a 30-minute update, and I was like, I guess I'm not playing this Xbox tonight because I don't. I know in 5 minutes I'm gonna be needed. Shadow PC has been interesting because Microsoft just announced PC hosting through Office 365, and Shadow PC is a great performer. I use it like I actually play Final Fantasy 14 on Shadow PC, but like they've gone bankrupt, they've been acquired, they're merging. Like at the end of the day, like they got great tech. I'm wondering if someone's just going to scoop them up.
Yeah, I think they're being a big enough disruptor in the market to gather attention. Interestingly enough, I was working with a customer. They do a lot of AutoCAD work, and I pointed him to Shadow PC, knowing that they were mainly a gaming platform, but seeing if they would be interested in building virtual desktops for AutoCAD engineering design work. And he got pretty far up the chain, and then they finally just said, nah, we don't have enough interest to do this. But I think that's a niche market, especially with the fact that Hyper-V and VMware are both now charging an arm and a leg for graphics card virtualization, paving the way for Linux to be a huge stakeholder in that market space. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we all say, "Oh, Linux, I'll never use that operating system. It's all command line."
All the time.
But we use it every day, and Windows 11 actually resembles Linux more than ever from a Windows standpoint. And a lot of PowerShell is built off Linux. And I don't know, I'm getting really nerdy on you guys, but technology is exciting, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with virtual graphics.
Yeah.
How are we going to leverage a virtual machine that can play a game and have zero latency, or work and have zero latency? So yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh, well, that was a hell of a post show. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks, Vulcan. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Randy, for joining in episode 27 here. I'll have the links and stuff for y'all. So just make sure you message me if there's anything you want me to link to. Vulcan is easy because I can just hit @Vulcan. We got to get everybody else to 1,000 subs so I can be lazy.
There you go.
Yeah. I am on the YouTube.
Sorry, gosh.
I probably have more videos posted private than are public, but you can't find me there.
It's always funny. Someone's like, "You're just doing this for the views." I was like, you tell me somebody who's posting public content on YouTube that praise to God that no one's going to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Please, nobody see this public post. Oh, thank God. Oh,
we did it.
We did it. Randy has figured it out. He's just like, set it to private.
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, guys, I'm ending the broadcast. Thanks for being here. And hopefully I'll be playing some Final Fantasy 14 with y'all tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.
All right. See you guys.